Hi, and welcome back to Purple Collar Life. In today's video, we're going to talk about how spending 5 minutes of time this winter can save you hundreds of dollars in the spring. Now, we actually just had our first snow of the year yesterday, and I'll put a couple pictures here of that. It was just a morning snowfall, did cover the ground, but the ground is still so wet that it didn't really stick to the roads or anything like that. But those days are coming. Now, even though the snow didn't stick this first snowfall here in the middle of November, the temperatures are cooler. And when the temperatures are cooler, you know, I've got all this equipment here in the big building. We've got the Nautique boat, the jet ski, tractor, golf cart, the other John Deere tractor, pontoon boat, side-by-side, four-wheeler. You know, they always say when you're building a pole building like this for storing equipment to go bigger than you think. I can attest to that. It seems like they fill up pretty quickly. Some of you may have already guessed what I'm talking about, but just 2 summers ago, we took the jet ski out and it wouldn't start, took it to the shop, and of course it needed a new battery after all those years. It was $260. And if I had spent just 5 minutes doing this, I wouldn't have had to buy that new battery. There's a good chance. So for years and years and years, on the Nautique boat, I have always put a battery charger or a battery tender on that. I've got a battery tender on the XT250. I've now got a battery tender on the Mini X because that thing goes dead very quickly. It's always sending that signal out to Takeuchi so that it can be protected from being stolen. But that signal always going out uses a lot of the battery. So I keep it on a battery tender when I'm not running it, especially inside this metal building. Because as you know, if you try to use a cell phone or anything inside a metal building, the battery goes down a lot faster trying to send signal through the metal walls of the building. But today, I want to talk to you about some battery chargers. Now, this battery tender is a 750 milliamp charger. It's a trickle charger and maintainer that I bought just for the jet ski. With all these pieces of equipment, it's a good idea to have some chargers around. I will be today in less than 5 minutes putting the charger on the jet ski, showing you how to do that. And then of course I'm going to put the traditional tender on the Nautique. I've got a charger because we just got a new battery on the pontoon boat. So lots of equipment here to get battery chargers hooked up to so that in the springtime you're not spending hundreds of dollars replacing batteries that you could have just maintained throughout the wintertime. So here's the battery tender junior that I'm going to use here on the jet ski. This is 750 milliamps battery charger and maintainer. You can see it's good for 12 volt batteries, lead acid, AGM, or gel. And then you can see here on the back, connect it and forget it, safe for long-term storage, spark proof, reverse hookup protection, charges and maintains, and you can see it kind of indicates here lawnmowers, scooters, motorcycles, four-wheelers, jet skis. So I will put an Amazon affiliate link to this charger, but there's a couple other ones that are not the battery tender brand that I'm going to show you also. Batteries here under the seat. So if you look down in there, you can see I've got the battery connected. The battery tender brand always comes with an inline fuse. I've got my positive and my negative side connected. It does have these quick disconnects out here. So that's nice. If you wanted to just leave this connected by not using the clamps, you can actually, you can see how that unscrews in there. You could connect that right to the post of the battery. And then just always leave this charger on the battery, even when you're running it in the summertime. Use this nice disconnect, so you can see you can just put that dust cap and cover on, just like that. Tuck that inside, and you can just leave it in there all the time. Now, I continue to use the clamps because I only put this on the charger in the wintertime. And what I like to do is go ahead and put the seat back on, just to keep the engine compartment protected from critters getting down inside there. Do carefully here so we don't disconnect this cable. Now I've got this power strip here, and I'll put an Amazon affiliate link to this also. But the reason I'm using this is because I'm going to use this power source to charge the jet ski and the pontoon boat. So this is a good spot to put my strip, which does have an on-off switch. We'll go ahead and plug the battery tender junior in here. There's our red light, says that it's not fully charged, so it's going to switch to charging at this time until it's fully charged. We'll let that work for a little bit. There's the flashing green to let us know that it is charging now. And after it charges and reaches full 12-volt capacity, this light will be solid and it'll just maintain that charge at that time. So you can see less than 5 minutes to connect the Battery Tender Junior, and that'll save us from having to spend $260 again next summer because the battery has gone dead in the wintertime. Now, a lot of times you can recharge a battery that's gone dead, but it's much more healthy for it. It'll last longer years if you keep it maintained all the time. So some people just disconnect the battery, don't put it on a charger. The downside to that is there's a good chance it'll go mostly dead in the wintertime.
There's a big difference between mostly dead and all dead.
You'll charge it up in the spring, and it might work fine for you in the summertime for a year or two. But if you maintain them like this, I've had batteries that have lasted 7 to 10 years because they're always at peak charge and they're maintained throughout the cold months of winter. I talked in our RV prep for winter video about how I leave the camper plugged into power. That's so that it maintains its charge on the battery in it. That's another way to keep the camper battery healthy, is either take it out of the camper, put it on a charger somewhere in your garage, or if you've got access in a building like this to electricity, just leave it connected so it always keeps the battery at full charge in the camper. As you can see, the Takeuchi Mini X is in the building, which makes it really hard to send that signal out, especially in the cold weather. So we've got here underneath the cover, you can see my clamps right here. This battery is also connected to a charger. Now this is a different brand. This is a Schumacher. You can see this is one I bought years ago to use with the Ford 9N tractor that had a 6-volt system. This has selection of 6-volt or 12-volt. Our Mini X is 12-volt, so that slider switches over at 12-volt. You can see this is a 1.5 amp maintain battery for something like a lawn tractor, motorcycle, or ATV. It is fully charged, so it's just going to be a green light there. And whenever I want to start up the Mini X, I can just unplug the battery charger, disconnect the clamps from the battery, and pull this thing out of the building. Again, I like to put the hood down here, so I'm just careful that I don't pinch that wire or knock off the clamps, and put that hood down. Now these 3 pieces of equipment, the 4-wheeler, the side-by-side, and the John Deere tractor, I don't put those on a charger, but I make a point of coming out and starting them regularly, like once a weekend or so if I'm not using them, just to keep the battery in good shape, let them run for a little bit, let that oil pump through, and maintain those pieces of equipment in the wintertime. But most of the time in the wintertime, I'm using these at least once a week anyway, so I don't have to make a special trip out here to start them up and let them charge up the battery. I do need to order a couple more battery chargers for the 2 zero-turn mowers. These batteries aren't super expensive to replace in the springtime, but it's just wasteful to let them die and then replace them so often when you could just maintain them with a battery trickle charger. Back here at the back of the building, I've got the XT250. You can see it is plugged in. It uses that quick connect charge cable like I mentioned before. I just leave it on there all the time. It is attached to the battery posts. This is the original battery, Yamaha XT250 with the original battery, because it's always on the trickle charger except for when I'm riding it. I pull it into this part of the building, plug it in just like this. So here's that plug connection. When I'm done charging and ready to go ride, I just disconnect that, put this cap on it to keep all the mud out of that connection. And then when I'm ready to store it, take the cap off, reconnect the charger. Now you can see with something like the XT250 why it makes sense to go ahead and connect that charge cable to the posts, because you don't want to have to get underneath the seat and put that the clamps on the battery all the time. It's easy to just leave them connected, use this quick disconnect to hook the battery tender up. And this is the Battery Tender Junior that I use on the XT250. Again, link down below in the description. Now's the time to buy these things if we're headed into winter and you don't have battery maintainers on your equipment. Now, the more pieces of equipment you have, the more tenders you need. And I would just make this recommendation. There are some cheap, made in China battery tenders. When it comes to connecting to the electronics of your vehicle, I like to go with a name brand that I can trust. Now, those other cheap brands on Amazon, they are pretty cheap. You can get like 2 chargers for the price of 1. But I just like to rely on the equipment that I know is going to protect the battery, not cause a fire hazard here in my building with these maintainers plugged in. So I got this new one this year for the pontoon boat. One of the nice things about this one, it is all fully automatic. It determines the battery type, the number of volts you need to charge, whether it's 6 volt or 12 volt, and it is a 2 amp maintainer, so a little bit more powerful than the 750 milliamp Battery Tender Junior. This is another Schumacher brand. I'll put this link down in the description below. It does have the ability also to connect with just the cord and the quick disconnect, so that would be an option if you wanted to just attach this right to your battery. You could do that. I will be using the clamps on the battery here in the pontoon boat. It's easy to disconnect this, and in the summertime, the boat's usually in the water enough that we don't need to put it on the charger, just for maintaining in the wintertime. So the 2 amp charger is made for a little bit heavier battery. This battery is a marine grade battery. It is high cranking amps and long life battery. So I want to maintain the battery with a charger that has enough amps to keep it charged throughout the winter and maintain throughout the season. So this is the box for that one. Again, I'll put the link to this down below. I'm going to connect this up later after the video, and then let me show you the charger that I've always used on the Nautique boat. The Sport Nautique has a big 351 V8 engine, so of course it takes a lot of amps to start that. So this is another expensive battery to replace. Now the battery in this is actually under the back seat. So what I do is I go ahead and make the clamp connections to the battery. I run my wire up over the seat, put the charger back here on the teak. You can see it shows it is connecting. I just plugged it in, so it's going to make that connection to the battery, and then it'll show that it's starting to charge. But in the meantime, I can put the cover back in place to protect the interior of the boat. It's nice that this cord is so thin, you can just leave it connected there and put the cover back on. So there you can see I just leave it sitting on the teak, uncovered, so that it can breathe. So now you can see our yellow light is on, indicating that it's charging. Once it's fully charged, the light will go on beside the full battery, and that lets us know the battery is just being maintained at that point. Now this is a 1.5 amp. This is a little bit newer than the one that had the switch on it. This one automatically detects whether it's 6 volt or 12 volt, and a little bit older than the new one I just showed you, the 2 amp one. In my mind, the 2 amp one is the way to go. A little bit more amperage to charge the battery up to the level and then maintain it. Here's the new to us John Deere GX 255. You can see the previous owner did have the trickle charger connection set up for it. There's the inline fuse. This was probably a Battery Tender Junior, so I need to get another charger for the John Deere mower, and I need to get one charger for the golf cart. So the battery for the golf cart's down there underneath the air intake, and I borrowed the charger that's currently on the Takeuchi, is the one that used to be on the golf cart for the winter time. So I need to get one more for the golf cart for the winter time, because that one has to be on the Takeuchi all the time. Now my big battery charger, the kind that can start the vehicle if the battery's dead, can do some battery testing and diagnostics. My one of those that I had bought at a garage sale probably 10 years ago died 2 years ago. So I've only had the trickle chargers in order to charge a battery that was dead or declining. And then of course you could use jumper cables to jump a car, or I've got the jump and carry that I have used plenty of times to start dead equipment when the batteries have drained over time. So I saw on sale on Amazon, and I'm not sure if it's still on sale, but I'll put the link down below in the description. This battery charger that's a 200 amp battery charger, but it's also a maintainer. It works with several types of batteries, and I thought this would be a great buy to have here at the house. With all the equipment we have, all the vehicles, I haven't had to use it to start a dead vehicle yet, but it does have the right amperage to do that. Here's the new charger. I have used it to charge and maintain, which is this setting right here. So there you go. you can see all these pieces of equipment. If I had to replace batteries in the summertime for everything, that would be a lot of money. It's a lot more economic to spend a little bit of money now, spend 5 minutes, connect a battery trickle charger and maintainer to these pieces of equipment, so I'm not spending $200, $300 per battery replacing all the batteries in our summertime fun equipment. Thanks for watching. If you found this video informative and entertaining, please give us a thumbs up. Leave a comment down below if you have a favorite battery charger and maintainer. I'd like to hear from other people, and like I said, I just don't recommend those brands that you've never heard of. If it is, I've got a couple brands that I like. I'll put links down below in the description of things that I think are pretty good quality brands for trickle chargers and maintainers, and then that big 200 amp charger, which was really on sale when I bought it. I think it's a good thing to have at the house if you've got lots of equipment like this and you end up with something that has a dead battery. Thank you so much for watching. We know there's a lot of videos out there that you can choose from. We appreciate you taking the time to click on ours and watch this video. I may have to reposition my cord, but I did get the cord to the battery charger, which is right there, and then the line with the clamps on it is going underneath the lid there, down into the battery, which is actually seated down at the bottom of the floor right there. But you can see we are on and charging with the 2 amp maintainer. So we've got Battery Tender Jr., Schumacher 2 amp, Schumacher 1.5 amp on the Nautique, and the Schumacher 1.5 amp on the Takeuchi. If any of you have any experience with those multiple pieces of equipment chargers, like the Battery Tender piece that'll do 4 pieces of equipment or 6, leave a comment down below and let me know what you think about those. I could actually use one of those to charge both of the time cutters, the zero turn mowers, and the Takeuchi at the same time, probably from one setup, because these are all sitting pretty close to each other. Thanks for watching. Hopefully we see you again the next time.